Welcome back to Danny Rants. Today we have a long-awaited guest for me, but you didn't know I was chasing him, but I've been chasing him for about a year through his management, through him, but finally the worlds have come together and he's sitting across from me. I'd like to introduce my latest guest, Mr. 360 himself.
Good to see you, man.
How are you, Six?
I'm very good.
I'm so glad to have you here. As I just said before, I've been super excited about this one and all day I've been pumped. So thanks for, I guess, allowing it to happen finally.
Man, I didn't actually know you were chasing it for that long.
I guess that's a good manager, right? A good
Yeah.
manager is making sure it's the right time, and he decided that now is the right time. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, I'm glad we're doing it, man.
I probably could have just texted you, but I was like, fuck, I'll go through the right route.
Yeah, that happens.
Cool. So normally I do this bit where I say, hey, can you explain to people who you are? But I'm pretty sure everybody knows who you are. So what we'll do a little bit different than what we normally do, because I don't normally do like the pre-part or the kind of growing up thing.
Yeah.
I would love to know, because I actually don't know. Where did you grow up? Where are you from? And sort of like, I guess, a little bit of a background story of you pre-being 360.
Yeah, so I grew up in Croydon, out Ringwood Way. Lived out there for majority of my childhood. Started playing basketball when I was like 5 years old and was just absolutely obsessed with it. My old man used to train me like before. We used to like go hard, man. He used to train me before school multiple times a week, and I'd have training after school. Just went hard into it. This is later than 5.
Yeah.
I probably should have said that. In high school, was just chasing. I thought basketball was my my dream that I wanted to do. I was playing for the Ringwood Hawks out there, but at the same time, I'd gotten into rapping through skateboarding. Like I was also obsessed with skating, and my mate's older brothers used to have all these hip hop CDs, and we used to just like listen to all their CDs all the time, like Wu-Tang, and they also had like these Aussie rappers called Battletown.
Yeah, I've actually never heard of them.
Yeah, they were like used to rap in an American accent back then. They were kind of hated on by the Aussie scene, but we got into them so hard, and then we decided to start doing that ourselves, and that was just like this passion, I guess. Basketball was always the main goal, and that was always sort of rapping was in the background. And playing at Ringwood Hawks, started playing like ABA and VBL and stuff like that, which is starting to get quite serious. And that's when I met Pez.
Yep.
Pez and I played for the same team, and I think it took us a while. It took us about 6 months to a year to figure out that we both rapped.
Okay, really?
Yeah. So he it was real funny, man. I used to wear like the double denim, shiny rocker-wear outfits and that.
Data outfits.
Man, full like from the markets.
Yeah, Caribbean.
Yeah, full decked out in them, like baggy as, and Pez would also rock like do-rags and like socks up to his knees with baggy shorts and that. So we kind of dressed similar, and I think that was what kind of got the conversation going. Like, oh, do you listen to rap music in that? So we started like really bonding through that. And then I don't know what the time frame was. I can't really remember it, but we started making music together as well. I was about 16 or 17 when we first started doing it, just like dabbling in it. And that was also when I started doing rap battles at the time as well.
So going back on that, right? So like obviously you start talking about doing it, right? So what was that like? Like how were you getting your tunes? How were you recording? Like if you and Pez were catching up to make music, what did that look like?
So at first it started by, I had no idea what I was doing. I just had a computer, and I think people told me to try this. So I grabbed like an old pair of headphones, plug them into the back of the computer and use them as a microphone. And then I would play a beat through the speaker on it was like some old Microsoft WAV player. It wasn't even a thing. It was bizarre. You play the beat through these speakers, hold the earphones as a microphone up to the speakers so they could hear the beat, and then try and rap over the top of it like that. So I was doing that for like the first few years. That was from when I was 14, I started doing that. And then at about 16, I started downloading like software and getting into the actual like what program to use. I used to use one called Cool Edit Pro, and got better microphones and stuff like that, and started learning the ropes of how to actually record properly.
And you just ripping tunes off YouTube or like downloading from LimeWire and stuff?
Napster and LimeWire. Yep. So just jacking instrumentals off other rappers. And there's also, I think it was mp3.com.
Yep.
I think people used to put up their beats on there, and there was SoundClick, I think.
Yep.
There was all these other places that you get beats from, but they were the main ones. And then, now when Pez and I got into doing it around 16 and 17 as well. Yeah, but the battle rapping that came at about 16.
And was that young for that? Because obviously we grew up in a similar area.
Yeah.
I remember people battle rapping behind Knox cinemas, like when we were kids, but it was like, you know, us in a circle, 8 Mile was out. Like it wasn't like proper battle rapping. It was just kids just having a go. Like what did that look like at 16? Like how did you even get into that?
Yeah, so I was obsessed with listening to guys battle rap from Napster, like just downloading this guy called Idea. He was like the biggest battle rapper at the time. He had heaps of like MP3s of him doing live freestyle battles. So I started like doing that battling people at school parties and stuff. Like everyone would be drunk and we'd set up a battle and we'd just duke it out and that. And then someone, I don't know how I came across it, but someone was like, oh, they actually run these battle rap events for under 18s in the city at Cherry Bar. They called them Run Amok. And like I'd go there with the crew from school. They'd all come with me, and man, it was pretty crazy. There'd be about 12 people contesting or something like that. You wouldn't even know who you're going up against. They just pull it out of a hat and you jump up. You have to freestyle against them and just diss them and go hard. And I came second twice. I never won it, but I always like showed promise doing that. And that was wild, man. Like doing that I think that taught me a lot about performing and how to project my voice into a microphone. Because I always noticed when people held the mic back here and didn't project their voice, no one would really understand what they were saying. So I was like, quick to learn, you hold it right up there and you almost yell, like you're almost yelling at your opponent.
So it wasn't just the words, it was like the way you were actually like performing it. There was the difference between winning or losing.
Yeah, big time. And so I came second a few times, but that sort of got my name out amongst the Melbourne hip hop scene.
Bro, like going back on that, right? Like you're again 16, you know, at the time, you know, hip hop is it's a bit of a like, kind of like a foreign term in those. I'm guessing this is what, like kind of early 2000s, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, how did you even get the confidence to do that? You know, like it's a pretty fucking like scary thing to do, is go, oh, I'm going to go in the city from Ringwood with my mates to battle rap and juke with these dudes. Like when you think back at it now, it's pretty courageous. It's pretty crazy.
Just think of it now, it makes me go, how did I just do that? Like now I'd be too nervous to do something like that, just rock up and just do it. But it was like, I feel like back then it was just fearless. Like I didn't really have any fear of doing stuff like that. I would get nervous, but I'd be more amped than anything. I don't know where that fearlessness came from. I feel like it probably stemmed from basketball, like pushing myself in that and then sort of applying the same work ethic towards music. Anything that I was passionate about, I just went all out with it. And what was the other, was that, did I answer that right?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Yes.
That's basically the end of that question.
Yeah.
So, and you were playing basketball at that same time. You're going to the city doing battle rap, right? Obviously there must have been a transition where you decided to start focusing more on like the battle rap stuff, evidently, because of your career, you're not a professional basketball player. What happened there? Or was it something that kind of aligned, or did you have to like give one up to take on the other thing?
Man, I was aiming to go to college to play ball.
Over in the States?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
That was the aim. But I don't reckon I was good enough to, now looking back on it now, back then though, I thought I could do anything. But yeah, I don't think I was that good. But at about 18 or 19, I started getting like blurry eye, like blurry vision in my right eye. I always just noticed when I'd look at lights, there was always these little halos around it and stuff. And I was like, what is going on here? So we went, got my eyes checked, and after a few months of seeing specialists and that, they found that I had this disease. I've got this disease in both my eyes called keratoconus, and that's like this degenerative eye disease where your cornea is meant to be like a circular shape like that, but it makes it a cone.
Yep.
And the surface of the cornea starts eroding. So you need to act on it quite quickly, otherwise it can pop and like all this liquid goes into your eye and you go fully blind. So they were like, oh, you need to do this thing called a corneal graft, which is chopping my cornea off and putting a dead person's on there, which is wild, man. So I got that done in my right eye, and I had these little stitches in my eye for about, it felt like 6 months. I might be remembering wrong, but every week I would go into the doctor, they'd take a few stitches out and then do that for a few weeks until it was all the stitches were gone. And each time they took a few stitches out, my vision would drastically change because it was like pulling on the cornea and stuff. And then by the time I got all the stitches taken out, the vision was just gone. It was like, it's just like looking underwater. It's just, I can see colors, but it's all blurry.
Even now, yeah?
Yeah, even now. I can wear this glass contact lens, like it's some like special lens, but it improves it, but it makes it really uncomfortable and real itchy. My eye just goes red. It's not really nice. So I don't really wear it.
Because I remember we were in the studio, it was like 3 years ago, and one of the things they said was you had to come during the day because of this. So that's how I knew that you had this.
Yeah, I can't drive at night, which is such a pain, man. It makes it kind of tough. Like driving at night is just so dangerous. I can't see the lines properly and stuff like that.
And so that's been happening since you were a teenager.
Yeah, that's been happening since I was a teenager. And then my left eye started sort of fading as well. And then they did these different surgeries on it that froze the disease. And now it's sort of frozen, but they reckon it could start fading just.
And what caused it? Just born like that?
Just by chance. Yeah, it's not hereditary or anything. It just happens to some people, you know.
So because of that, though, that's kind of shattered that basketball potential dream to go to college. Is that what happened?
Yeah. So I tried to play through it. I tried to play with the contact lens, but there was like multiple games where I'd get knocked in the eye and my contact lens would go into the like corner of my eye and I like couldn't get it out. And then other games it would pop off into the floor and they'd have to stop the game and look for it. It was it just killed my desire to play. Like I had this like real zeal for it before where I was like, let's go, I'm ready for it. And then when that happened, it just killed it. And that crushed me at the time, man. Like I remember being so sad about that. It was like all I really lived for, but looking back, it feels like it was a blessing in disguise. Like it was like, this is not your path. This is.
Yeah.
And it made music the only thing that I really cared for after that. It was like, that was my passion.
Because for those that don't know, like obviously, how tall are you? Because you're pretty tall.
6'4", yeah.
6'4", okay. Yeah. I would have guessed higher, but yeah, 6'4". So you're a pretty big dude.
Yeah.
So when you talk about this basketball thing, you sort of started to realize that your eye disease potentially was kind of, I guess, helping fade that dream, or not helping, but fading that dream away for college. What age was that?
Probably about 20, 21.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then you've just been doing the battle stuff. I know you talked on it before that you were getting your name out on it. And I've listened to that, I think it's the Complex one, the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember hearing that in that. So like, I remember someone talking about how you kind of came in and you were like kind of, I guess, a lot better than everybody else, but now it kind of makes sense. So when you were going to these adult ones after 18, you already had 2 years under your belt of like battling before a lot of other people. So yeah, what was the go there? So had people started to know who you were when you were doing these battles underage, or was it more when you turned overage?
It was a bit of both. So it was like my name got spread through the battle rapping definitely in the Melbourne circuit, and I started uploading the recorded tracks that I'd done. And then I got hit up by Trem from Uncut Recordings, and that's like they have like Lyrical Commission on there with Brad Strutt and all them. And those guys at the time were the dudes that I worshipped. Like,
yeah.
I remember Trem emailed me and I was like, I thought it was someone trolling me. And I was like, yeah, who is this? You know? He's like, it's actually me. Anyway, they ended up signing me when I was like 16. And I started working with them really, really closely, and they were helping develop my sound and stuff like that. And then fast forward to about 18 and 19, this is when I was really working hard with Pez. I feel like when I was 16 in my teens, man, I was still in that phase of being a young kid from a middle class, really good family, really supportive family, trying to be a street dude, like trying to prove myself as some hard dude who was like, I'll bash you out kind of thing.
Getcha, yeah.
Which I 100% wouldn't. I was never like that. Like I've always been a gentle kind of soft person.
But the hip hop at the time, that was a lot of that, especially the Melbourne stuff when you talk about, you know, the kind of undertow, not the necessarily mainstream stuff, but that's what it was.
That's what it was. It was very street. It was very raw. And
Graphers and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was the graph scene. It was like, you had to be pretty staunch, you know, like someone with my personality wasn't really popping in the scene and stuff like that. So I was trying to prove myself to be one of them. And then when I was like 19 and working with Pez, he was like, dude, just be yourself, man. Like you're a sweetheart, and you're a funny guy. Just lean into that. Stop trying to be something you're not. And so I started just embracing who I was more, and that started showing in my music. I started listening to other music and being less into the real kind of street hardcore boom bap stuff.
Yeah.
And then we kind of had a bit of a falling out because I forget how it happened, but me and Pez, we got pretty rowdy, man. Like we started dissing a lot of the people in the scene. We dissed like the Hilltop Hoods, and we dropped a bunch of names and just started going at everyone like we don't care, you guys suck, we're awesome kind of thing. And it's caused a bit of friction between us and the scene, and that hasn't really gone away since.
Yeah, really.
It's been interesting, man. Like we really caused the reason we became so outcast from it all, but also because I started going like massive pop direction, you know?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I started like implementing more pop elements into music, and that, you know, that was at the time that was really unheard of in Aussie rap. It was like, oh no, you're a sellout. That was a common thing I would always get. You're a sellout unless you make boom bap. And yeah, so me and Pez were working on our stuff, and I was also a chippy, doing an apprenticeship as a chippy, and I'd been doing that for like 5 months. Was absolutely hating it. And he was like, man, why don't we just do music like for our career? And
instead of doing the battle rap stuff?
Instead of doing the chippy stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like the battle rap stuff was just a hobby. And then I was like, man, I don't think that's like, I didn't think that's something we could do, isn't music as a career. But when he put it to me, he's like, dude, we could easily do it. We could become the biggest rappers in the country and stuff. He had this belief that we could do it, and it was really infectious. I was like, yeah, all right. And then the next day I quit, we started writing raps all the time and stuff.
How'd your parents go with that?
Oh, they didn't like it, man. They were like, you know, if you're gonna do this, you need a job. You need an actual job. This is not a real job. And then it was like, after like a year or two of doing it, my brother actually was like, spoke to my parents and said, look, he's got something that not everyone has.
Yeah.
Let him go and let him give it a shot. And if it doesn't work out, then he can get a job. So they all ended up being like, yeah, go for it. Go hard, which was really awesome.
That's mad, man. One thing I will say though, you talk about that confidence with Pez, right? And then eventually it was infectious and you got it. I would say everybody that I've worked with who's blown up have told me they're going to blow up. Like, so that it's a really common denominator, like that self-belief, where they're like, you know, I believe that I am X and I will do and blah, blah, blah. And it can be jarring. Like you talked about the Hilltop Hood thing and how it worked off because some will say it and people don't like it. But the reality of it is those people with that infectious belief are normally the ones who people get around and it happens for them, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's some that don't get me wrong, but I always said when I used to work with people, like, hey, you got to either do this seriously and quit your job, which might sound wild, or you have a fallback. But if you have a fallback, it's probably not going to work for you. And the reason why I say that is I've worked with heaps of talented people who have a fallback plan and they fall back into that plan, you know? So it's a weird thing to say, hear you say it again. I hear it again and again and again on this podcast, but it's always the same story. Like someone just saying, I just thought, you know what, I could give this a fucking go, and I truly believed it would happen, and it did. So it's actually crazy that you've said it again. It's just over and over and over again.
And it's wild to see, like, if I think back about the people that have really made rap their career, it was always the people that were just like committed to it. They were the ones that were going for it no matter what. And even though some of them back then weren't guys who were like, oh, you wouldn't really see the potential that they would reach.
Yep.
And there was actually a lot of people back then who had crazy potential, but because it didn't work in the first year or two, they gave it up.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to watch that play out. You see that through a lot of people, like, and it's always the ones that were just like, I'm gonna just do it no matter what. This is all I care about. And they end up just all making it.
So when you were first starting, right, like who were you kind of knocking around with when this happened? Like before you blew up, you start working on stuff, you start, you know, you got a little community going that like has belief in yourselves and Pez and stuff. Who were you knocking around with from the Melbourne scene that was doing the same thing? Or was it just you two?
It was Pez, it was Seth Sentry, it was Weapon X and Ken Howell. Do you know those boys?
Yeah, I do, yep.
They were huge. They really helped us. Like they put out these mixtapes all the time, and they were like always about getting us on there, which helped us so much. And they also would do these shows at the Evelyn like I don't even know how often, but quite often. And whenever Weapon X and Ken Howell were performing, there'd be a massive crowd. So, and anytime they ask us to support, we were just like super grateful for it. And we'd go out there just like wanting to smash it. And they really supported us, and I don't think we'd be where we are if it wasn't for them. Also Styles Fuego, he produced Falling and Flying and co-wrote majority of it. Like he wrote majority of the hooks and stuff like that. He was, man, he coming into his presence working on the album was a blessing because he was just crazy.
And you guys were all living together at one point, or there's a whole bunch of you guys living in a house. Is there a story there?
Me and Pez were.
Yep.
Yeah, just me and Pez were living together. We were just living in this bubble of just making music all day, every day, and just being wild boys. You know, it was very fun. But I didn't really live with anyone else apart from that.
Yeah. Okay. That was just their hang house.
Yep.
Yeah. So with the battle stuff, when you were doing that, did it ever get heated, or was it like politically everyone was okay? Like, did you ever have issues?
With you know the Keynote battle?
No, I don't know the Keynote one. I know obviously the famous one, 360 Cursor, which we'll get to. But pre that, like I saw, it's hard to see because sometimes you see it looks like, you know, really heated, but at the same time, is it all show? Like
it was a bit of show. I think he'd warned me that I'd said that I was going to mention his daughter in the battle, and he was like, "If you do that, I'm going to smash you." So then I did it, and then he was like, I think he was like, I've got to live up to what I said I was going to do. So he had to kind of staunch up a little bit. But I didn't, I went pretty hard, but I didn't say like real foul stuff towards his daughter. I was more just saying like, she's not your daughter, you know, like, which is pretty harsh, but it's like, I think there's lines, you know.
Yeah, I get you.
Like there's other stuff you could say that would really cross the line, which I've heard some rappers do. But my battles never really crossed that line, but there has been a lot of battles that have.
And you've seen it, like have you seen like physical altercations from what people have said in battles?
Yeah, full on, like just people say, man, I've seen it pop off for stuff that doesn't even sound like it would cause any issues. People just go bang, headbutt in the face and it's just on, or someone gets glassed and like it, There was a lot of that element in the Aussie battle rap scene back in the day, especially at some of the Adelaide events that they had. I think they got beef events that just used to get wild with some of these dudes who were just like so staunch, like from that. You know, they were just like, if you say anything, they would get real sensitive and just want to like cut you with a boxy or something and just go crazy.
Because I guess like you talked about before how, you know, you had these guys beforehand, the boom bap dudes, and then you had yourself who was like, then became arguably the biggest pop hip hop artists in Australia. Not arguably, I think you probably definitely have been. And then you had these other guys like Cursor, and then now that, you know, there's a whole new scene where these guys are gangsters. But back, a lot of them have the same roots, which is that battle rap. So it would have been a pretty hectic mix of like different people. And I always find it so interesting because I'm like, you're watching these dudes who I know, like, you know, I've interviewed Forte. He's a G. And I'm like, he used to do this. And I just can't imagine him allowing someone to pay him out. That makes sense. But obviously he says he did, but I'm like, I always wonder, I'm like, how heated do these things get?
I think there's like a level of understanding that comes with it. Like people understand that it's like, it's not serious. Even though you might say some stuff that's pretty full on, it's like a comedy roasting. It's entertainment. And I feel like most people can do it and realize that not to take it seriously, but there are some things that if you say, they'd probably feel obliged to just crack you because it's like crossing a line or something. But
yeah, getcha.
It's good to see when people don't, you know?
Yeah, of course. And then it goes back to the whole Cursor 360 thing, right? So obviously everyone knows about it, but I might as well explain in case someone doesn't. But like, how did that get so big prior to it? And then still now, you're talking what, like 15, 20 years? People still talk about it. Like clips go viral all the time of people talking about who won, even people that aren't related to you guys. Like, why do you think that became such a fucking massive part of the Australian hip hop culture? And like probably one of the most talked about hip hop moments still to this day.
Man, that was wild. I feel like it was coming from, I was doing the battle rap stuff and I was very much I was just taking the piss out of people, like real comical, wasn't taking it too seriously and just having a laugh with it. And at the same time, Cursor had that sort of style too. He was very cheeky, very creative with his lines, a bit of a smart ass, but he would really get into these like rapid fire flows and stuff like that. And he started making a real name for himself through battle rap too, but it was like more towards the underground scene from the street dudes. And I think at the same time I was doing it, I was sort of hitting to the market of people that were more into the poppy rap stuffs because I had songs that started getting on the radio and stuff like that too. So it became this thing when me and Cursor, we started, I can't remember how it happened, but we started talking trash a fair bit to one another, making videos to each other and stuff. I think it was when the battle was set up. We were doing it to hype it up. And I was trash talking him bad, and it was, just trying to hype up the thing. But I think it got taken quite seriously by a lot of people. Like, oh, these two actually hate one another. They got mad beef. But it became the street side of hip hop versus the guy who was making radio commercial stuff. So
it was almost hipster hip hop in a sense.
Yeah. It became like the two backgrounds versus one another. So if
Nautica wearers versus tight jeans and like baggy beanie wearers.
100%.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was. And it's like, it was this feud. It was bizarre. And even his fans were like feuding with my fans. And it's, man, it's really, really cute looking back on it. But it's crazy how crazy that went. Like the most watched battle rap in Australia. It was like a real big moment. Everyone always brings it up. And we've had our moments of beefing, like being quite serious too. Like, like I won't get into it, but things have happened where it has been serious, but we ended up just squashing it.
So past or pre?
Past.
Really?
Yeah, after the battle, yeah.
Wow.
So after the battle, we had a few moments where things got serious, but then we were like, look, we'll just, let's leave our names out of each other's mouth and just keep it chill. And now we've been respectful ever since. Like, I really respect him, man. I think he's done an incredible job with, his music, that he's been able to crush his career without any industry support. It's just simply off coming from the battle rap scene and just appealing to that market so well. Like he showed people that you can do it without support.
Yeah.
Like I had all the radio behind me. So it was like I was streamlined into the mainstream, where he had none of that. So he had to just do it all from the ground up himself, which is really cool.
Yeah. I guess that's probably what makes that battle so iconic because of that. Yeah. Like it was two two similar paths, two similar like ends, I guess. But at the same time, it was like two completely different stories. Like it's almost like a tale of two cities.
Yeah, it's big, big time.
It's almost like a play. Maybe in years to come, there'll be like a theatrical 360 verse Cursor battle at the Princess Theatre. I'd go to that.
Man, that'd be incredible.
Yeah, that's insane. So then I guess now going back into like past that stuff, do you ever miss the rap battle stuff?
Look, I do and I don't, because like every time I had a battle, I would get so nervous, man. Like before every single battle, I'd just be riddled with anxiety and just be like on the verge of being like, this isn't worth it. I should dip and just cancel it. And I'd always have a few drinks to calm myself down and stuff like that. But then when I would just get to the point of rapping the first line, all those nerves would go away and I'd feel in my element. Like I'd feel like I'd grew like 6 more feet or something like that. And that, I miss that feeling, because that feeling's really fun. Like when you drop just some real funny lines and just have the whole like venue cracking up laughing was a really good feeling. So I've been thinking about doing it again, like getting into it and battling either people from here or people from the UK.
Yep.
And giving it another crack and seeing how I go. But I just get, man, I don't like those pre-battle jitters that I get, you know.
So going back, Falling and Flying beforehand, right? So you guys you're working on music. Really, there's guys out there like Hilltop Hood and Blitz and that sort of stuff. But I'd say you're like the second wave. There's not really been any massive success or artists other than like a few, like, you know, not many. You start working on this album. Walk me through that. Like, when you were making it, did you know it was going to be what it became? And this massive, huge, humongous feat, and you know, something that people look and revered still to this day, or was it just like, how did that process kind of transpire?
So it was like the first taste of success that we got was when Pez and I dropped the festival song.
Which was so big, man. Like that was like the soundtrack. Like as soon as I hear that song, I think of Pyramid Rock, you know, those summers in my early 20s, like it's almost like an anthem to anybody who lived in Australia, who went to festivals.
Yeah.
Still to this day, you know, like it was such a big tune.
Man, it was wild, because he actually had that song. It was like a song about how much he loves summer, and it had the same chorus. And then he was like, dude, I just have this feeling we need to change it and make it about something newer. And we'd been going to Pyramid a lot and like just going hard, like getting super loose and stuff like that. So I can't remember where the idea came from. It was, let's just rap about this. And like everything we spoke about in that song is exactly what it was actually like.
And what it felt like.
It just got it all across. And I think that's how people related to it so much.
You spoke to a generation. Yeah.
And a lot of people were doing that, like hiding their booze when trying to get in and, you know, taking pingers and all that kind of stuff. And when before that, we'd both gotten into this documentary called The Secret, all about the law of attraction and manifesting your dreams and all that, like writing down your goals and visualizing what you want to happen and believing it'll happen and then it'll happen kind of thing. So we were doing that before that. And then when the festival song came out and it blew up, it's like everything we were picturing in our heads and that we'd put on our vision board started coming true. So I saw that. I saw Pez just went off into this huge heights of fame, and he was touring and supporting every US rapper that would come out. He'd be the support act at the time. And I saw that and I was like, so this is like really doable. Like we can really go hard with this. So I just like, I'm gonna go so hard now, and just started writing all the craziest goals, man. Like I'm gonna sell this many albums. I'm gonna have multiple gold singles. I'm gonna be played on every radio station around the country. I'm gonna make it to the top 50, like all these like big goals. And then I started working with Styles on Falling and Flying. And it was like, I remember meeting with him and his manager and saying, I don't want to make an Aussie hip hop album. I want to make almost like a antithesis, like anti-Aussie hip hop. I want it to be like completely new direction, dance music, electro, all that, dubstep, everything on there that is not a typical Aussie hip hop sound. Let's just go crazy. So we started doing that for years. And when it actually came out, man, it was like, all these goals that I'd written down, I achieved every single one of them, but ended up like far exceeding what I thought I was going to do. Like I thought it was going to do quite well, but I didn't think it was going to go like crazy. Like I didn't think it was going to be like 6 times platinum songs and stuff like that. Like I never thought that. And that every single song we released got either gold or multiple platinum. It was like insane. So much stuff happened and it was wild, man. It just launched my career and it just changed my whole life. It went from like being that guy who everyone was like, oh yeah, you want to be a rapper kind of thing. That's pretty cute. To then suddenly it felt like overnight, bang, just like this fame and being thrust into the spotlight, and was not ready for that at all. And at the time we were partying quite hard, just enjoying ourselves as young teenagers do, or young early 20s do, you know. We just go out every weekend and, you know, mess around and stuff like that. And then once the money came in and the fame stuff, we were just like, well, why stop? We might as well just continue the party going and stay up the whole time. And that happened, you know, and that ended quite badly. Like one thing, you're just living the dream, and then the next thing you wake up and you like can't live without the substances.
Yeah.
And that got pretty dark.
And so, like, before we get into that part, which I know is a big part of your journey and the recovery and all that sort of stuff, and now we got your 5th album coming up now after a bit of a gap. When the festival song came up, obviously there was no SoundCloud, there was no, I guess, YouTube or whatever it was. How the fuck did that song even blow up? Because I remember when it came out, you know, everyone, it was like Pez blew up, and then you 360 was on the album. So when your album came out, everyone kind of connected the dots. But it's like, how? Like what? Because you guys were effectively, I know you guys were people known in Melbourne, you had sort of a reputation in the scene, but that was a hit, like a number one hit.
Yep.
So how did that even happen back then?
So we, Pez emailed, I think it was Richard Kingsmill from Triple J, and he sent him the song, and it had started getting quite a few plays and requests on there. And then they added it to the website as a free download. And then it just like, I can't remember in the time frame, but it was like overnight, it just went crazy. Like had the most downloads they've ever had or something like that. It had like 40,000 downloads of a free MP3. And that just catapulted it, man. It just started getting played everywhere. And it was really funny at the time, like Pez exploded, but people didn't even know I was on the song.
Yeah,
like,
I remember when you brought out that album, I'd seen your name and I was like, oh, that's a guy from that song, but I didn't even know you were on it until like you blew up. Does that make sense? So it was almost like backtracked, and I was like, oh.
A lot of people, I remember I've had battle raps where they mention it. They were like, oh, you know, you're the guy from the band Pez. Like everyone thought I was like in Pez's band. Like I was his hype man because I was hyping him and on the stage show and stuff like that. So everyone thought I was a part of Pez, and then it was like Falling and Flying was about showing that we both have our own music as well. But that was amazing, man.
So during those early parts when all that stuff was going on, right, it would have been fucking insane. You're mucking around doing stuff, you know, there's a small little network, it's niche, there's probably 100, 200 people coming to these battle rap shows, and then everything just explodes, right? Is there some moments there where you sat there and thought to yourself, what the actual fuck? Like, was there like a pinch yourself moment you can remember in those early days where you were like, I can't even believe this is happening?
Yeah, definitely when we did Pyramid Rock, when we filmed the festival song video, we were just like, it's actually happened. Like everything we believed was going to happen, but it was almost like, did we believe it was going to happen? You know, like looking back, how is this possible? We've done this. And I think that goes back to what we were talking about before, having that unshakable belief that you can do it is what it's all about. And then there was also moments during Falling and Flying that were just like continually just like, what is even happening? Like I remember EMI flying me up and like they gifting me all these platinum records and stuff like that, and just being like, how is this even happening? You know? And also getting on the Eminem tour, that was just like, this is bizarre. Life has just changed and turned into this dream life that I always thought I wanted. You know, it was like all about growing up. It was like, you know, get famous, get money and that, and just life will be sweet. That was what it was all about. And then finally you're there. It's like, wow, this is crazy.
And was it what you expected?
It was fun. Like the fame stuff and all that, it's like, it was fun for a bit, but then it's like quickly the fun, it doesn't get that fun anymore, especially when you're struggling and the drugs and the mental health stuff is going on. It's like that element of it wasn't fun at all. And the money thing, like money is great in the sense that it brings a lot of freedom. If it definitely doesn't bring happiness though. Like once you get a certain amount of money, you think your life's going to be set. Well, I did anyway. I thought life was going to be set. And you realize once you get there, it's like you reach this milestone, but then you feel like it's like this fleeting moment of satisfaction that you just have to get more. So it's like, all right, we'll go to the next goal, make more money, and then I'll be satisfied. And then you get there and that moment disappears quite quickly again. That's sort of been a running theme with like fame, status, and money. I've found it's always like it's a good feeling when you reach a goal that you've always wanted to reach, but then it doesn't bring you actually sustained happiness.
Yeah, I totally understand that. And like another one I guess too is I hear people talk about, and like even throughout what I'm doing currently now, we talked about it earlier before we started, but it's not being able to turn it on and off. So if you could do and have the money and you could have the fame when it suited you and you could just turn it off and be normal and live all this stuff, but it's like everything you've ever wished for, it's every single day. And it's like those things and goals that you want to achieve, it's like buying a new car. So when you buy that new car, it's good for like a week and then it's just a new car.
That's exactly it, man.
But you spend 8 months thinking you want this new car and how happy it's going to make you feel. But when you get there, you don't. So I'm assuming that's much the same with the feeling that you're sort of explaining is that, you always wanted to win ARIAs and go multi-platinum, and then you did and you're like, I still feel the fucking same and I'm not supposed to. I'm supposed to feel like amazing, but I don't. It sort of starts to creep in, do you think?
Definitely, man. Like you appreciate it and it's like the car's great while you've got it even later, but it's like, it's not that that fulfillment doesn't last very long at all. It just runs out and then you look for other things it's like constantly looking for things to fulfill you that just never quite do.
It's like someone used the term, it's like when I was going through my own mental health battles, I was looking for a quick fix, if that makes sense. So I was looking for a cure. And someone's like, there's no cure, there's management. You're going to manage it. So it's almost the same thing with success. Like I feel as though from what you're saying is that you're looking at it going, well, I'll be happy and I won't feel these shit things and have these demons if I get to this.
Yes.
Yeah? And that's that cure effect. But when you hit it, you're like, well, fuck, this is not the cure. I've got to figure out another cure.
Yeah.
And you're just chasing this constant cure for satisfaction, happiness or whatever. And it doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's like everything's this constant looking for different coping mechanisms to get by and get through life. And then it just never ends up helping you cope.
Yeah. Pretty deep.
Yeah.
But I guess that's what we're here to talk about.
Yeah.
So going back to some more positive sort of stuff, when you're in that falling flying rush, going through that falling flying like rush, I guess, where you're just kind of winning and winning and winning, was there sort of an amazing moment in that period that you were like, this is like unbelievable to me other than the M&M tour?
I think being able to like see my parents be like, oh wow, you actually did it. That was awesome. And being able to thank them and appreciate their support. That was a huge moment, man. There's like very special. And them seeing them just seeing that is just like, yeah, really cool.
So with the drug stuff, right, you've been super vocal about it and your journey and whatnot. Was it during that period that you started to think, hey, I might have a problem here? Or was it sort of like, was there a point where you sort of decided or knew that this wasn't working for you anymore?
I think I was in denial about it. Like I had people around me going, dude, you need to chill. But I thought I was just having fun. I thought I was just partying, but the partying was just never stopping. So it was like, of course I was just reckless. But I always thought that once I'm ready, I'll just stop. But then you get to the point where you're like, okay, I'm ready to stop. And you can't stop because if you try, you just go through withdrawals and you get sick. It's like, I never realized what addiction was, that you've like, when you're dabbling in drugs or alcohol and stuff like that, you can do it every now and then and it doesn't really evolve to this beast that it becomes. But once you cross the line into addiction, it like lets this little demon out of a cage that is inside you, and then bang, that demon is with you forever and you have to spend the rest of your life like learning how to tame it and learning how to keep its voice down. But it is very manageable. Like I always thought that demon was just going to rule my life. And then you just got to focus on healthy things.
Addictions, right? Like healthy addictions.
Yeah, like I found that I thought that gymming, going to the gym.
Because you got huge for a bit there.
Yeah, going to the gym and eating right and all that, that became the addiction. But I realized that it's unsustainable. It's like, that's another thing that's temporary. It sounds positive because it is
health,
non-destructive. Yeah, it's actually good for you. But in the end, it will let you down in some way, shape or form. Like when you get to the point where you have an injury or you plateau or something like that, you end up going, oh man, my life isn't good again.
Yeah, it's like winding back at all the good you did.
Yeah. And I've learned that like since coming to God and becoming Christian, everything in like you if you don't worship God, you will worship something else. So now I've gotten to the point where God has become the center of my life and the other things are byproducts of it. So it's like when I was putting my health and fitness first, that was what was the most important thing to me, was becoming the best version of myself. But now when I'm putting God first, becoming the best version of myself is the right thing that he wants me to do anyway.
Yeah, I get you.
But I'm not worshiping the status of where that's at kind of thing.
Or looking for the cure, like what we talked about before.
Yeah.
So you're constantly looking for the cure and now it's not like a cure. It's sort of like, it's a journey.
Yeah. And having God first at the center of everything, it's like this, it's given me this sense of purpose that just never runs out. And it's like, I used to hate Christians. I used to hate religion and anything to do with faith in God and stuff like that. I always believed in a higher power, but just I believed the way the media portrayed Christianity. And then since really exploring it myself, I've realized it's not really what I thought it was at all. It's a lot different.
So when did that sort of all happen? Like I do want to go back to the Flying Falling, the follow-up albums and all that sort of stuff. But when did you sort of start to, I guess, accept God and start to think, this is something that can really help me through some of the struggles and pain that I've gone through?
Yeah. So I was like working with my life coach who helped me get like evolve so much on a personal level, like conquer a lot of people pleasing and seeking validation and approval from other people. And he was like, I remember he goes, do you believe in God? And I was like, definitely. Yeah, I believe in God, but I don't like religion. I was very staunchly opposed to it. And he was like, and he goes, do you pray? And I said, I used to pray when I was a child. I used to have this unwavering faith in God and used to know that he had my back and loved me. Even though I wasn't religious or anything, I just did it.
Same, dude. Weird. Like I used to be the same.
Really?
Yeah. And I used to, like if something went wrong, I'd be like, please, like, because I had a pretty bad childhood, but I'd be like, please, like, protect my brother, please. And I would like pray like vigorously, if that makes sense. But something that I still do it now, but to no one, if that makes sense. Like I sort of like put it out into the ecosystem, hoping that these thoughts will fix things. But it's like, I used to be the same when I was a kid, which is kind of interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you have like that faith as well? Like,
nah, well, my family's not religious in the slightest. I've never even been to church. But
like,
I was like,
not religious faith, but like faith that he was going to protect you?
Yeah, definitely. As a kid, yeah.
Yeah. So that I remember that really clearly.
Same.
And like thinking my life is awesome. It always works out, even when it didn't, kind of thing.
So I had a moment, I'll tell, it's like full off the beaten trail, but my brother, we lost him, right? And then we found him, took like an hour and a half, but like I loved him. And I'd pray every night that he would never be lost again. Yeah. And I was like that, like I would use it as a way to like protect people I loved more so than me. But like you said, vividly, I could vividly remember like thinking I had to do it because otherwise like something bad would happen and like trusting it. Yeah, pretty crazy, but yeah.
Yeah, so and that's same, like I don't come from a religious family or anything like that, so I don't know where that came from. I don't know why I was doing that. Maybe I saw it in movies or something like that. And then, so my coach was like, dude, you used to pray, I encourage you to start doing it again, start developing a relationship with that higher power. So I started doing that again. And at the same time, this was at about 2022, one of my closest mates became born again Christian, had this profound experience. He like flew up to Queensland. It was real epic, real like overnight transformation kind of thing, came back and was just this changed man. And I saw him go through that and I was just like, he was going like, man, I'm born again Christian, like talking about Jesus and all this stuff. And I was just like, dude, I don't know about this, like what's going on here. Didn't know what to make of it. I was really happy for him because he was like deeply affected by it and I love him. So it was really cool to see. But I just was like, oh, religion, I don't know, you know, it's a bit cultish, people are brainwashed that are into religion and stuff. And then I was like, but it's funny you say that, you know, like I've been praying and talking to like a higher power and like I feel this connection. It's like when I'm making music, I feel like I'm channeling something higher. It's always felt like that. And I feel like when my intuition is going crazy, I feel like that's some form of guidance from up above. And he was like, dude, I know like all your doubts about it and all your cynicism about religion is fair, but go into and read the Gospels with an open mind and just seek it and like pray. When you're praying, say, if this is real, reveal that to me. Like show me if this is the truth and you want this in my life, I need to believe this. I need to drop the cynicism. So I started just going hard, man. I started reading the Bible. I don't think I would have been interested in it if it was anyone else, you know, because it was him. Gotcha. And I trusted him so much. I was like, you know what, I'm actually going to see what this is about. And because I saw how much it transformed him. He'd been like, he had real big issues with mental health and stuff like that in the past that had just all been like healed, you know? So I just started going hard, man, going real deep, reading the Bible, reading the Gospels, praying all the time. And it took a long time, but that cynicism and resistance that I had to it started fading away. I thought, you know, I'll never be able to become a Christian. I have to change all these habits and these lifestyle choices that I make. And I thought I could never do that. But then it got to the point when that cynicism faded away and I actually believed it, it was like I willingly gave those things up. Like it's helped transform so many aspects of me that I didn't even think I needed to change.
Yeah.
It's been crazy.
That's cool, man. It's been cool to watch from afar. And like obviously I've seen you post some stuff and whatnot. So I was actually looking forward to having that convo with you. And then kind of going back full circle to the Falling and Flying, those follow-up albums and stuff like that, like obviously you're going through mental health at that current time. Was that like making it worse or better having to deal in the music space while you're going through it? Like how was following up like an album that did so successful afterwards? Was that like easy, hard, like you're okay with it? Were you doing it with the same sort of passion you did prior? Like what was that like?
I feel like I was living two lives. Like I was living this life in the public of this like guy who didn't care, who was carefree, just living it up and loving life, but in the background I was just not. And then following that, it's like once I got launched into the stratosphere, say, with the music, it's like suddenly I was surrounded by a team at the label and producers and writers and all this stuff that all knew better than I did. Like they all had experience about experience of being in the music industry. So they knew what I should do.
Gotcha.
They knew what was best for me. And I doubted myself a lot. So I would start listening to them rather than going with what I felt in my instinct like I used to in the past. So I started feeling like I was directed more than I was directing myself. And that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned is that I've got to always go with whatever my gut is telling me to do with choices, everything in life, not just music. Like whether it comes to like choosing the right songs, the album playlist, whatever, I've always got to go with my gut instead of what other people who have been around longer think is best.
Yeah.
You know, that was the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's like, yeah, because I remember ages ago us talking about that. Like this is, I think, maybe 4 years ago when I first met you. And it was, I found it so interesting, you sort of saying like, you know, I trust these guys because they're like at the head of the label, they're the best producer, they're best this. And you're like, but I don't know if I should have because the success from the first album was to do with my gut, my feel and my passion. And I'm like, it's a really interesting fact to look at. And then the other thing I remember you saying was too, like when you kind of came back, it's like, but I think your first performance back after the hiatus was Hello Sunshine, my event with the boys. And I remember you sort of having some really kind of like concerns and fears about being, doing live music again. And to me, it was weird. So when I first met you, and I've not ever told you this, but I was like, I just assumed exactly what you said. Like, you're 360 growing up. I was a massive fan. Like, all my friends would talk about you like this bigger than life sort of rap superstar in Australia. And when I met you, not only were you just a normal guy, but you had these reservations that we would talk about. So you'd be like, oh, I'm just, I don't know if I'm going to do this. And the self-doubt to me actually blew my mind, because in my head, it almost sort of like, which I've never said this to you, but I'm like, bro, this guy can have self-doubt and he's fucking this guy that I put on a pedestal for so long. Like, no one's invincible, right? And that's something that I didn't share with you. And then I remember when we were talking about doing Hello Sunshine, and we were talking about doing the tour, and you had these concerns and about how you were worried about it. I was like, it blew my mind. But like, so I'd love you to share that. Like, when you first came back after your hiatus of 3 or 4 years, like what you went through, like mentally what you were dealing with and how you overcame that.
Man, it was so tough, like coming back after such a big hiatus, especially because I'd been to rehab for the second time. I was in there for 4 months getting off like methadone and really high dose of benzodiazepines and stuff like that. So I'd made it my mission. I thought when I got out of rehab that I was going to hit the ground and start releasing music straight away and just start touring. But I came out feeling so sick and unwell and mentally sick and just depressed that it took a long while to build my confidence back. I'd lost all my confidence, man. Like, I was a shell of my former self. I could barely leave the house.
But why do you think that? Why do you think you lost your confidence so badly?
From the drugs, from living this life of lying to so many people about my addiction problems, like not sharing what was going on with people, thinking I couldn't, like thinking I was a burden for doing it. I think also getting out during the COVID lockdowns was like, it like all those feelings of wanting to be isolated just became even like on steroids, it was like even more amplified. And I was just like so petrified of putting myself out there again. I was like, I'm never, ever going to live up to what I've done with Falling and Flying and other stuff. I don't think I can do this anymore. But I got to the point where I was like, well, I need to just do it. I need to just like put stuff out and just start building myself back up there again. So I said to myself, what I'm going to do is I'm going to release 6 songs in a year, like 1 a month or something like that. I can't remember how often we did. I think it was 1 a month or once every 2 weeks or something. And I said, however these songs come out or however they turn out to be, whether they're good or bad or what, I'm just going to release them anyway and just run with it. And man, getting over that hurdle of like, because that to me, the songs that I put out, it's like the Truman Show, Knowing My Place. I thought Knowing My Place was really cool, but Lose It, and there's all these other ones, right? They were cool, but I never thought they were good enough to like go right back up again. So I didn't think they were worth releasing, but I'd committed to it. So I was like, I've just got to do it anyway. But just doing that was the best thing. Like to just go, all right, I'm going to do it. Even though I don't feel like it's good enough, I'm just going to do it anyway. It was awesome, man. It was like dropping these songs, being petrified that it was going to ruin my career, but ended up building my career back up again just slowly. I was able to do like one big major city tour and then a regional tour off these songs. And those tours were so hard. I was so nervous. I was like, had no confidence in myself at all. Going up there, I was in my head the whole time. I was seeing myself through other people's eyes and being real critical of every movement, didn't know how to move my hands. I'd lost it. And I thought, if this is going to be like this, I'm just going to stop. There's no point doing it. But I'm glad that I just kept pushing through it. It was like getting past that initial doubt and loss of confidence brought that confidence back. It's like in the past, through my career, I had this comfort zone that just got stretched to like out beyond comprehension. And then after all the drugs and all that, my comfort zone became my house. So I was only comfortable with my family and being in my house. So the only way to stretch your comfort zone is to step outside it bit by bit, and then you slowly expand it again. And that's what I've been doing probably for the last 5 years. And it's gotten to the point now where I'm like, man, I'm in the best place that I've been in. I'm I'm enjoying performing again. I feel present when I'm on stage. Making music is crazy. Like it's gotten to the point where the album that I've done with Tyrone Harpy is like easily the best stuff I've done.
I've heard a good whack of it, and I'd agree. It's fucking awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like it's back there, and I feel like it was because of like pushing through that phase of being like, I'm done. Like I'm not, no, there's no confidence anymore, but getting past that was what made it happen.
It's good like life advice though. Like name one thing if you don't keep doing, you'll get better at.
Yeah.
Like if you can't run and you run every day, you'll eventually run a marathon. Yeah. And like, so it's the same sort of mentality you're saying there. It's like, well, okay, well, I thought I couldn't rebuild myself and do what I used to do, but day by day I continued to stick to it. And now, I'm releasing my 5th album and I'm back in the best place I've ever been. So you can kind of apply that in anything really.
Yeah. Anything. And it's great advice for people who are like wanting to start some sort of craft, whatever it is, just go for it. Just start, even if it's dropping content or kickboxing or martial arts, something, just start doing it.
Just do it.
The early phase is the hardest. It's so bad. Like you'll be bad at it and you'll fumble your way through it, but eventually you'll get to a point where you start becoming comfortable and improving more. And that's sort of like anything you do in life, that's going to happen.
And it's cool to hear it the other way around. Like, if you do something for ages and you feel like you're good at it and then you become almost scared to do it again because you're like, well, fuck, I'm never going to be as good again. You can restart and you can retry. I was at both those shows. I was at Hello Sunshine, obviously, which is your first show back. And I went to the Billboard one when you first did it. And the thing that blew my mind was your fan base, man. They fucking love you, which is so awesome to see. Like, I think that show sold out in 15 minutes and you hadn't done anything for 5 years or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And they just fuck with you so hard. Like, and that for me to hear you come back and do music again is like, I'm so excited to hear it. And obviously I've been lucky to be able to hear it because I know how much you meant to people and I know you've had your ups and your downs and you've been so vocal about it, but like you kind of represent that, so if you just never came back, I feel like it would have been a misjustice to all these people that give so much of a fuck about you. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And your story now, it kind of vicariously is their story. Maybe it's going to help them through their battles, Like, I know that's pretty deep again, but I'm like, I guess it's a testament from me to you. Like, thank you, thank you for fucking doing that because there is probably someone down their luck who may be listening to this and going, I can't have a crack at this. And the fact that you've been tough enough to go through these battles, be open about it, go from feeling like you're from living the top of the world to the bottom of the world and then going back again. It's like not a lot of people actually do that,
Yeah.
And it's probably something you don't think about yourself either.
I really appreciate hearing that, man. That really means a lot. And
yeah.
I was going to say to you as well, man, can you remember when we were in a studio with like Ronnie and Slothy and that?
Yep.
I always remember being so nervous about doing that session. I feel like that, I don't know what year that was, but it was
would have been like 4 years ago, I reckon.
That was when I was in the thick of like not wanting to do stuff.
I'm pretty sure it was just after you came out of rehab. So it was like 2021 maybe?
Yeah. And I remember being like what's going to happen here? Like with Ronnie and Slothy and that, there was no ego. It was actually all love. It was great, but I expected there to be ego or something like that. I was really in my head about it. And I remember you were like this light in this darkness there where like you and I just had you, whenever I've seen you, man, you've always just been so lovely and just like always get into like really rad conversations and you've always made me feel really comfortable wherever I've been. I've been like real socially anxious and you've made me feel comfortable. And that was, I wanted to mention that to you.
Thanks, bro. Fuck, that's actually like amazing to me.
Yeah, man.
I've never heard anyone say that.
Helped me like come out of my shell. Like I was really unsure about myself. I didn't think I'd be able to do anything that was be impressive lyrically. And then I feel like talking to you, you made me feel chill.
Yeah. And on that same session, I remember watching you go through your process and like, being such a fan, I was just like, what the fuck? Because for those that don't know, you kind of like mumble hymns in a sense over the beat and then you turn those hymns into words. And I've never seen anyone do what you do. Obviously we've teased it a little bit. There is a 5th album coming out. It's been in the works for a couple of years. It's been a few times I've been told it was coming out and then I know you're a bit of a perfectionist from what the boys tell me. Can you tell us about that? Like what's next for 60, the 5th studio album, but what else are we looking forward to?
So we start dropping songs off the new album at the end of this month and we're going to be dropping pretty much every song off the album in a video, almost all of them. I've been working with Tyrone Harpy for probably the last 4 years, but really dialed in over the last year and a half, 2 years. And he is a genius, man. I've never worked with anyone that is on his level of songwriting and producing. Like initially I thought he was just a really good producer, but I've been like, the songwriting he can do is absolutely incredible. Like we've done so many sessions writing these songs off the album where he will just like, we'll pick a sample or something and start writing to it, and he'll just come up with all these different hooks that are so sick. And his ability to write melodies it is mind blowing. And I feel like my rapping, I was listening to like Falling and Flying and some of my stuff after that. The rapping has changed so much, like even just from the level of the way I project my voice and stuff like that. I feel like I'm finally at the point where I actually really like my music and I'm comfortable with where I'm at. In the past, I thought I was, but looking back on it, it's like, wow, this sounds trash compared to what I'm doing now. So I feel like what I'm about to put out is probably the best stuff I've done. I just can't wait to put it out.
I'm pumped. Another one that I just remembered now, the thing that I was going to talk about was, so after having that hiatus, right, obviously you had heaps of support beforehand. You were like the golden child for all commercial radio, you arias, all that sort of stuff. You had this hiatus and then they didn't really kind of come back to the support. No. So you're kind of like full circle now. You're like in a Curzon mode where you're effectively independent artists with fucking arias. Mm-hmm. Why and how do you think like that transpired?
Yeah, it was weird, man. Like we got crazy support from Triple J and Nova and Fox and all that, like really good support from Triple J. But there was this period when we were coming out with Falling and Flying, we had built so much hype through the battles and stuff like that on the internet, if I said to people, hey, go request this song, it would have an army of people requesting it. And we got emailed from Triple J when we were first starting to put stuff out, and they said, can you stop emailing us? Can you tell your street team to stop emailing us? And we were like, that's not us. That's like literally just the fans. So they were kind of off it, but then they realized that the demand was so strong, they just started playing it and they started thrashing every single song. So that went absolutely crazy. And the support from everywhere was really big, and then it just disappeared. I don't know why, man. I actually have no idea what happened. Maybe it was the way I behaved. I was quite outspoken and I would always swear, had a foul mouth. Like in my aria, when I won an aria, I said to C-Bomb like in the first 3 seconds, like an idiot, like probably haven't been they haven't wanted to invite me back. So I don't even know, man, but it's going to be interesting to see how it goes now. I don't think it's actually a blessing to be in a position where I don't think we need the support. Like I feel like we've been able to sustain the career trajectory just by putting out videos and songs. And now that we've got an album coming out, we'll be fine regardless. But if the radio does get behind it, I feel like it'll go bang. Like,
but at the same time, man, like you look at everything that's blowing up right now, and like even if you go to like America, like you got Nelk, Logan Paul, blah, blah, blah. Most people who are getting supported these days are people who are like not anti-media, but like they swear. Yeah. So like where I'm at now, it's like, and I'm the same, I'm doing my thing and I'm like, fuck the media. Yeah. And like you talk back in the day, you had Recovery, you had Channel V, you had all this stuff. And now that was so like, didn't represent the real industry, like people like you and I are the real industry, people that drop the C-bomb, people that, are open to talk about the fact that they've had drug problems or mental health issues. Like I feel like even with me, like there's been times where I've hit crossroads where I've had a media opportunity and it's died off because they're like, he's happy to talk about fucking drug use, like, oh, he's happy to say that he did pingers. And I'm like, I'm not going to not do that because that's the reality in real life. So where I sit, it's like, hopefully like they get around you, but at the same time, you don't need them and fuck them. Yeah. Like if they don't want to be and support real people, then that's their drama, man. Like, and that's why they're losing millions and millions of people. No one watches free to air anymore. No one listens to Triple J, and it's their fault because they're not willing to actually showcase real people.
Man, so true. It's like the commercial stuff, the media was so watered down. It had to be very politically correct and, on just ride this line, toe the line. And now it's gotten to the point where people just want authenticity.
It's like anti-establishment is probably the term. Like I speak to people and they're like, I love it, just tell it how it is. Imagine if I was on like a radio TV station now, I wouldn't be able to say anything, you know?
Nah.
Like, and I'm like, I don't want to because I want to tell real stories like we have today.
Yeah.
And I want to tell real authentic fucking yarns about the music industry, which include problems and highlights that may have drugs in them, that may have fucking gangsters in them or whatever, because that's the truth. Like, I don't want to be silenced and shut up, yeah? Like, if that means that I'd never get media support, much the same as with you with your stuff, then that's the way it is and I'm cool with that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think that the addition of TikTok and like just social media platforms where it's become about short form content, you don't need any sort of media help these days. Like you have to build yourself up, yes, but once you get to a point where you've got consistent views, you're sweet. You can do it on your own, which is awesome to see.
It's fucking cool. So before we wrap it up, can you drop any bombs about any sort of people, artists or anything like that that are on this 5th album that we may know of that you can talk about?
So I've got Nicole Miller. She's singing on 2 joints. I've got...
Trying to think if you can tell me or allowed to tell me.
Yeah.
That's okay if you can't. I had to try.
Yes, but it is good. It's got Pez on there.
Yeah.
Pez drops a killer verse on there.
Yeah, sweet. So I'm going to say, man, thank you for coming down. I've been so fucking excited. I feel like we got real deep, but we always do. So it's no different than when we normally catch up.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to working with you, dude. I know we're going to continue to, which is exciting for me. Thank you for being a part of my life. It's been a blessing getting to know you and hang out with you because I think we have mutual respect for one another and I really enjoy your company too. Thank you for your story and thank you for continuing, dude, to inspire others regardless of all the shit you've gone through, beating it and battling it. And I can't fucking wait to support and listen to this 5th album, much the same as everybody else. Hopefully who's watching this, they're going to get around it. So thanks, dude.
Man, thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate that.
You're a legend, bro. Thank you so much.